You welcome back. This is UPfront. We continue our conversation because in, let's say, 86 minutes from now, the President of the Republic of Ghana would actually be delivering a statement. This statement is supposed to be government, and his, as President of the Republic, first statement on what the way forward is for the U.S.-Ghana Defense Cooperation Agreement, which is dividing Ghanaians in so many ways. Now, my guest in the studio is the Honorable Mahama Yaga. Do you side with the minority in opposition to this deal?
Of course, yes. I do. I mean, entirely.
You are opposed to every bit of it?
No, I'm not opposed to Ghana having a military cooperation arrangement with the United States. Indeed, Ghana has always had military cooperation arrangements with the United States because we operate in many theaters to bring peace in countries where our assistance are needed as members of the United Nations. So Ghana and the U.S. must necessarily cooperate in order that we can all ensure global peace. Mm-hmm. They are in Africa. They are helping in different parts of Africa where we also have an interest to ensure that there is peace and security. They are in the Middle East, and we are also in the Middle East, and we are working to ensure that there is peace in Lebanon and other places. So Ghana and the U.S. definitely will need to cooperate, and we have been cooperating. In fact, the most recent that, under the NDC government we had with them was with the agreement that was signed by the Honorable Hannah Tete, where we had an acquisitions and cross-servicing agreement. And the acquisition and cross-servicing agreement basically was to say that when Ghanaian army find itself outside Ghana, and they need to carry out an operation, and the U.S. has facilities and equipment, the Ghanaian army can use the facilities and the equipment, and the U.S. government will bill us for the use of the facilities and the equipment. The same way, when the U.S. Army finds itself anywhere in the world where Ghana Army also has facilities and equipment, the U.S. Army can use the facilities and the equipment, and then the Ghana Army will bill them for the use of the facilities and equipment. That is what the acquisition and cross-servicing agreement basically says. That is what it says.
Okay, let me be clear.
So we've been cooperating with them. Now, the difference between the previous cooperation arrangements and this one is that this one is now authorizing the United States to establish a military base in Ghana.
Kwaku says the 2015 one did same. Actually,
I'm holding the 2015 one here.
Yes.
This is it. 2015, it's here.
Yes, he makes
reference. To show me where
he makes reference.
No, I'm saying that I'm holding which portion did he make reference to?
He said there are portions with this particular.
I'm holding it. Show me which portion.
He didn't state categorically.
I have read the entire thing inside out, and all that it says is that wherever Ghana has facilities and equipment, the U.S. Army, if they find themselves there, can use the facilities and equipment, and the government of Ghana will bill them the cost of using the facilities and equipment, and they will pay for the cost. And it is reciprocal. So wherever Ghana also finds itself, and the U.S. has facilities and equipment, Ghana Army can also use it, and the U.S. government will bill Ghana. Very reciprocal.
Okay, so you are stating categorically that there was no point or part of that particular agreement where the former president, and in the 2015 agreement, there was approved for use as basis for the U.S. Marines, Ghana, and specific bases here.
What did I say? I said that the arrangement is that if the U.S. Army needs to use facilities here for carrying out an operation to preserve peace anywhere, the Ghana Army will allow them to use the facilities, but then it will be at their expense. So for instance, immediately there is an announcement that they have been attacked in Mali. And they want to move from the US to Ghana. And then they want to make sure that when they arrive here, our aircraft lift their troops and drop them in Mali. The agreement is such that when they come, we should make our aircraft available so that it will lift them from here to Mali. But then we'll bill them the cost of lifting them from here to Mali. I hope you get the situation.
I get your point.
And if we need to provide them with some transit place to stay before they move on, we should do so. So it is basically an agreement to use your facilities, but then at their own cost. Now, under that arrangement...
Forgive me, one second.
Yes.
Did we have an agreement for Ghana to be used as a base for a U.S. military operation?
Where?
In a letter dated February 12, 2015, signed by then, of course, signed by then Foreign Affairs Minister.
This is the agreement itself is here.
Yeah.
And the agreement is dated 28th of April 2015. Is that what you're talking about? Or February 2015, there was a letter?
This is a specific letter.
Yes.
A letter that was written by Ghana through the Foreign Affairs Minister to the U.S., and this particular case, referencing U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, Bisa Williams.
Yes.
And this specific letter is being quoted, and this is the letter that Kokuba actually talks about in this case. Specifically, the quote here is that Ghana gave approval for U.S. to use Ghana as a base for a military operation, and proceeds to say that the operation involved the deployment of 200 U.S. Marine Forces, Africa personnel, 4 MV-22 Osprey and 2 C-130 Hercules aircraft. The deployment was scheduled to begin on 10th of February 2015 and last for approximately 5 weeks if approved. And this is the portion that, to him, clearly shows that there's clearance for U.S. aircraft to conduct overflights within Ghana's airspace for the duration of the mission, permission for the U.S. aircraft to operate from and be staged on the Air Force ramp, and for the deploying forces to leave and operate out of the U.S. Expeditionary Reception Facility located in the Air Force Base at the Burma camp.
Yes. That's the point that we've been making, that Ghana and the U.S. have always had a cooperation agreement. So if U.S. is going to carry out an activity in Mali and says that we want to use Ghana so that we can drop here, and then from here we can be moving our logistics to that country. That is...
Does that constitute a military base?
That is not a military base. Now, this one...
A base for deployment,
yes.
Is it?
No. There's a significant difference between that type of arrangement and this one, what Akufo-Addo is imposing on us. In the one that he is imposing on us, in the one that he's imposing on us, you see, it goes beyond just military cooperation, helping one another to enforce peace. It says that the Americans can come here, they can build permanent structures here, they can wear their uniforms here, they can actually carry guns in town, in Ghana, and that in addition to that, whatever they do here, we cannot arrest them and prosecute them before our courts. And in addition to that, when they are here, they are exempt from taxation of any form.
Were these immunities not granted in the 1998 one?
No, listen. Let me read a portion of this agreement that Hannah Tete signed, and you will see how they treat most of the issues that we are complaining about. For instance, waiver of excluded costs. And most of the clauses are prefaced that way, just so that you will know the consciousness of our government when we're entering into these arrangements. Insofar as national laws and regulations permit, the party shall ensure that any readily identifiable duties, taxes, and similar charges are not imposed on activities conducted under this agreement. So if Ghana law doesn't permit you to grant exemption, you cannot grant the person exemption from any duty. So this is how we couch the agreement, insofar as our law permit. So our law is superior. But in what Akufo-Addo and his team have gone to sign and impose on us, it says that grant them immunity, they can come and do anything and get away with it. They can rape women here and we have no authority to arrest them. Yes.
There's no part of that.
No. When you say you are granting somebody,
there's no reference to
when you say you are granting somebody immunity, when you say they are granted immunity, they and their contractors and subcontractors, both the army and the civilian who come, you are granting them immunity. It means that whatever they do, any crime they commit, if they meet you and I in town and the soldier is drunk because you have permitted him to hold guns in the center of Accra, if he's drunk or intoxicated or influenced by drugs or anything and opens fire and you and I are dead, Ghana cannot prosecute that person. The person is going to enjoy immunity, the same immunity that the ambassador of the United States to Ghana is enjoying under diplomatic immunity. It is in the agreement.
And this is on the status of the military forces, right?
Pardon?
This is on the status of the military.
Yes, the status of the military when they come here.
And you're
so
saying
those
that
are the
this
issues.
was not in the 1998 agreement?
I haven't seen any such provision in any previous agreement. What I know.
How about the tax waivers? Were they not in the 1998 agreement?
As I said, I haven't seen them. Indeed.
Have you seen the 1998 agreement?
The Minister for Defense,
yeah,
who came to Parliament, if he says that these are agreements that were already negotiated by the government of Ghana, first and foremost, let me tell you, under the Constitution of Ghana, those things were not enforceable. They were not enforceable. Because if they were signed and they were not brought to Parliament for ratification, the day that a soldier will commit an offense, an American soldier will commit an offense in Ghana, and then he will be picked up and he will plead immunity. On that day, the courts of Ghana would have told him that, oh, under our constitution, anybody who signs those agreements has to come and ratify them, like it was done in the Gitmo 2 cases. So the truth of the matter is that no such previous arrangement existed. So even if they existed, they were not recognized by the laws of Ghana. This is the simple position of the law.
Including the 2015 old?
Yeah, the 2015 one, in my opinion, hadn't come to Parliament for ratification. It hadn't come to Parliament for ratification.
So it's also null.
By the Gitmo 2 decision of the Supreme Court of Ghana, it was null and void. It was null and void. That's the fact. It was done by my government, but that's the fact. That is what the decision, the Gitmo 2 case tells us. That if the president goes and signs an agreement and then enforces it without coming to Parliament for ratification, signs an agreement, it's null and void.
Did you know of this agreement in 2015?
I didn't know.
You were a cabinet minister?
I didn't know. It wasn't brought to cabinet for approval. I didn't see it at cabinet for approval. I didn't see it. Several documents come to cabinet, but I didn't see this particular document in cabinet. In fact, I shouldn't be disclosing cabinet secret. I shouldn't be telling you what I see and what I haven't seen. What I haven't seen.
You've left cabinet a long time ago. You're no longer in cabinet.
What I haven't seen in cabinet.
Yeah.
But let's be. I always say this, and when I say this, people come at me in all forms. Look, let's not say that because X did this, which was not altogether the best way to go about it. Today, if Y does even a worse thing, then he will plead. It's tolerable. He will plead in justification of his worst conduct, some conduct that wasn't on all fours with our laws and the way that we ought to do things. I mean, when somebody says that he's not trying to be more pious than the Pope, we are learning. We are improving on our performance.
Okay.
If the MPP, if you are talking about 1998, MPP came into office when? In 2001.
Yeah.
And they operated from 2001 to 2008.
Yeah.
And they worked with the same U.S. Army.
Yeah.
They engaged in all those exercises with them on the basis of that understanding.
Yeah.
So they too acted the same way that the NDC acted.
Except to say that this particular 2015 agreement, they say they never knew about it.
And I'm saying that this 2015 agreement, in my opinion, is really not even a serious agreement because it simply says that if you have equipment somewhere and we happen to be there, we'll use your equipment and then we'll pay you for the use of the equipment. Read it. You can make a copy and read it.
I get you.
That's all that it says. I've read it. It doesn't say anything beyond that. That when you have equipment somewhere and we happen to be there, we'll use them. And we can also come to your country and then use some of your equipment to carry out, our activities and pay you for the use of the equipment. So the claim that
this is not...
But we are not supposed to establish a permanent place. That's the difference. The difference now is that...
I don't see a permanent place in the 2018 one.
The 2018 one?
Yes, I don't see any part. Yes, virtually every end. Actually, I reviewed it on the first
You don't see the
any
provisions
part where
regarding
they've written permanent place in this particular provision.
You haven't heard them say that they are to establish facilities.
Yes, but the permanent
What is a facility?
It could be temporal, actually.
What is a facility?
It could be any temporary unit. And we've been told that these facilities exist at the airport.
10 years can be temporary. 10 years can be temporary in somebody's life. One day is temporary. 10 years can be temporary.
But when you say permanent structures,
of course,
you seek to cement the military base argument in this particular case.
No, it is a military base. No, all the places where America has military bases. A military base is simply a facility. Go to Wikipedia and read. An installation is defined as a military base, camp, post, station, yard, center, home port, facility for any ship or other activity under the jurisdiction of the Department of Defense, including leased space that is controlled by or primarily supports Department of Defense activities. You see, an installation may consist of one or more sites. So basically, when you read this, our agreement, you see that they have a right, when we give them a space, to construct it, fence it, defend it with their weapons, and activities in that space is going to be directed by the Department of Defense from the U.S. That is a base.
Is that not how the principle of extraterritoriality works?
Yeah, but that is a concern. Mm-hmm. The concern that the Ghanaians have is that we will cooperate with you to preserve international peace in accordance with our commitment under the United Nations Charter.
Yeah.
We'll cooperate with you. But we want to stop at the level of cooperation. We don't want your soldiers physically here in a base. But we don't want them wearing their uniforms here in our town, and we don't want them holding guns in our streets. And we don't want an arrangement where you are giving them immunity to kill, maim, rape, and we cannot arrest them and prosecute them before our courts here. That is all we are saying. We're not saying that we never want soldiers from America here. They've been coming. Okay. And we are happy to have them share their experiences with our own soldiers.
I get your point.
And who doesn't want to be friends with the biggest power in the world? We all want to. We all want to partner with the biggest power in the world. But small as we are, we don't want to sell our sovereignty. We don't want to have that arrangement where you can come and do anything that you want and get away with it. That is the issue. Nobody is saying that an American soldier should never come to Ghana.
Let's talk about your expectations in this particular case. And what are your expectations of the president?
I don't expect anything.
In less than 1 hour, of course, I mean, it's 52 now, so in about an hour from now, he'll be delivering that particular statement.
First, I don't expect anything from the president. The reason is that the agreement that was brought to Parliament and pushed through Parliament was his agreement. The minister, Nitu, was not acting on his own volition. He was acting on the authority and on behalf of the President of the Republic of Ghana. So what we see in the agreement is a statement of Nana Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
That is his statement.
As if for cabinet.
That is his deed. Mm-hmm. The cabinet is not some body that is standing there independent. The cabinet only sits there to advise him. Mm-hmm. And he decides whether he's accepting the advice of his cabinet or not. So if any item comes out of the cabinet, say this is the decision of cabinet. No. The word, this is the decision of the cabinet, is just a term of art. But it simply means this is a decision of the president after having been advised by his cabinet.
Has already decided on the matter.
So he has already decided on the matter.
How about
so whatever he's going to come and tell us, maybe plead with us to accept his wisdom and judgment in the matter, because he, did not accept the wisdom and judgment of John Dramani Mahama, only to come into office and realize that it was the best wisdom, the best judgment he exercised in receiving the two detainees. And now he sees that they are very peaceful people. They are very peaceful people.
I'm just wondering how
and it is in the best interest of Ghana and etc. I'm wondering when he's going to come and tell us. He's going to come and read some long winding oratory to us. But after he has finished, we'll take the oratory out and then we'll look at the letter of what he's saying. And we'll relate it to what he has gotten approved in Parliament. Unless he's coming to tell us that he has rescinded his decision and he will no longer enforce the decision.
Would it be a step in the right direction?
No, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Listen, me, I am for cooperation with the military in the U.S. I am for Ghana Armed Forces, U.S. military cooperation. What I am against is an arrangement that says that they can come and rape women here and we cannot arrest them and prosecute them. What I'm against is that they can come here and walk in the streets of Ghana holding guns the way that our armed forces can hold guns in town. No. If they are coming for military exercises, they should confine themselves to the training area where they are carrying out the operation. The aircraft will drop them at the Air Force base. They will go and join our soldiers. They will carry out their military activities, whatever it is, for the agreed time period. When they finish, they go. If they have to intervene in Niger, they have to intervene in some other country, and they call us and say, look, your place is peaceful, like Ebola. Ebola in Sierra Leone. I mean, the whole world wanted to intervene in Sierra Leone. They wanted a country.
And Ghana was a base for that.
And Ghana said, look, come and use us as our base because Sierra Leone is our brother country. And we want a sister country. We want to make sure that they are taken good care of. So we'll take the risk. Come and use our country as a base. So the same way, if, pursuant to the commitment that all of us have under the UN Charter to preserve international peace, there is a situation in Libya, there's a situation in Chad, there's a situation in Mali, there's a situation in Ivory Coast. And the U.S. Army said, we want to intervene and try and then stop that activity that is taking place over there. But we cannot settle there whilst we are doing it. So we want to use your place as a temporary post to carry out the activity. And when we finish, we'll go. How many days will you use? So 1 month, 2 months, 5 months. Okay, what are your logistical requirements? Well, we'll bring 1 aircraft, we'll bring 2, but you already have 3, jet fighters there. So instead of us bringing our jet fighters, we'll use yours, but we'll reimburse you. That is what this agreement says.
I get your point.
And I'm in favor of that.
I get your point.
We can't say we'll never deal with the U.S.
No, but there's ever a question, though.
Yes.
The president will speak at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
There are 2 cases in court challenging this agreement.
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate for the president to speak?
Oh, why not?
When the case is in court.
Maybe he's coming to say he's withdrawing the agreement. If he's withdrawing the agreement, then the case will be moot.
So it will be dependent on what he says?
It depends on what he says. What he says shouldn't, interfere with the proceedings in court. But I technically have no objection to the president coming to speak because we don't know what he's going to say, so we can't gag him.
Okay.
We can't gag him.
I thought there was some general acceptance of the principle that when a matter is in court, you are not only circumspect in what you say about it, but you should not be seen as actually making comments.
The special prosecutor's matter was in court, but we sat there and vetted him and approved him. He was sworn in as special prosecutor while the court case was going on.
You in Parliament justified that?
Pardon?
You in Parliament justified that?
Yes. All we did was that we made sure we never asked questions that had implications for the outcome of the decision in court.
So what the president should do is not to make a statement that has implications for the outcome of the case in court?
He should not be seen, interfering in the decision of the court.
But so if he justifies this particular statement, agreement, would that amount to interfering in what's in court?
I doubt. I mean, if he justifies the agreement, which of course he justified in Parliament, that was the basis for the majority voting to approve it.
But that's prior to the court case being filed.
It doesn't really matter in my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, it doesn't really matter. We're all sitting here either justifying or being against the agreement, even though the matter is in court. I'm here doing the same thing. So if I'm here talking against the agreement, speaking against the agreement, what moral right do I have to say he shouldn't speak for the agreement?
Okay, my time is almost up, but...
And you are the journalists who are inviting us to come and speak on the issue.
Oh, I'm just asking you general questions. I'm not touching on what can actually end me up with contempt.
No, I take a principled position that the fact that a matter is in court shouldn't stop citizens from discussing the matter. Otherwise, what people will do or resort to doing to gag citizens in discussing public matters is immediately a matter comes and citizens want to discuss, they go and file something in court, no matter how ridiculous the grounds for their action is. Then it means that all of us are gagged and we can't speak. No, how can that happen?
Well,
how can a democratic, free speech, committed country behave that way?
My time is up. I appreciate your coming, and we are very thankful for having us here. We'll all hear the president in the next hour, and maybe we'll get you back to do some analysis of what the president has said after that. Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of Upfront. My name is Raymond Akwa, Parliament Subsidiary Legislation Committee Chair. Was my guest on today's edition of Upfront.